The Bengals defensive coordinator search is reportedly down to 2 candidates, and while I think both of them are very solid choices, I do think the Bengals are deserving of some criticism here, and in this video, I'll explain exactly what risk the Bengals are taking. Hi again, Bengals fans. John Sheeran of A2Z Sports Cincinnati here, and just a couple of days ago, I said on this channel that the Bengals defensive coordinator search is far from over, and it turns out that was kind of wrong. Because while the Bengals aren't interested in the likes of Wink Martindale or Mike Zimmer, they do seem to be down to just 2 finalists. Because according to a report from Dre Harris at BengalsTalk.com, someone who's well connected within the Bengals organization, he's a former player and scout, the Bengals are down to either Notre Dame defensive coordinator Al Golden or Las Vegas Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham. And before we go any further here, I would approve of either of these guys getting the job. It's always tricky judging coordinator hires when they happen because so much of it is projection, but I think both of them are more than qualified to taking over the Bengals defense right now. I think with Graham, you're talking about someone who's highly respected in the NFL ranks, who's a proven NFL defensive coordinator at 3 different franchises over the past 6 years, someone the players respect and play hard for, someone who maximizes personnel, someone who should probably be a head coach sooner than later. And he's completely outside of the Bengals organization, someone who would be completely new, someone who could bring fresh ideas, someone who could be a new piece and a new variable with his coaching staff and front office. And as for Golden, he's coordinating one of the best defenses in all of college football right now. That unit is a top 10 unit through and through, no matter what metric that you look at. It's why they're about to play Ohio State in the national title game. And we already discussed one of the reasons why the Bengals moved on from Anarumo in the first place. They needed to find someone who can identify, develop, and maximize young talent. And Al Golden is doing that better than pretty much everyone else at the college level right now. And based off of Harris's reporting here, it does seem like this is Golden's job to lose or decline, and if that happens, then Graham ends up getting the job. So what exactly is the issue here? Because no matter which direction the Bengals go with, I think that they'll get a solid defensive coordinator to help rebuild their defense. The problem to me is the way they went about this search. Because unless there are a plethora of other interviews that haven't been reported for this vacancy and there's a bunch of other candidates that we don't know about, it seems like the Bengals didn't cast a very wide net for this search. And I just don't think that that's how an NFL team should conduct a major coaching search like this. I mean, look at what the Patriots just did, right? They made a sham of the Rooney Rule by bringing in Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton for quote-unquote head coaching interviews, when the whole time they just wanted to hire Mike Vrabel. And yes, Mike Vrabel is a phenomenal head coaching candidate, and I think that's a very solid hire for New England, but they didn't even try to really just scope out the rest of what the other candidates had to offer. They were locked in on their guy, and they made a decision, and I really feel like they really short-sighted themselves in the process, despite landing a very good candidate. And the Dallas Cowboys might be doing the same thing, right? They just put themselves in limbo after holding on to Mike McCarthy for a week after Black Monday, and now Jerry Jones is looking at the likes of Kellen Moore and Jason Witten, guys that he knows very personally, as well as Deion Sanders and that pipe dream. No one should be or is commending how that search is going down. It's not that much different than what's happening in Cincinnati right now. Because even if Al Golden, who I think should be considered the favorite at this point, even if he would be a solid hire, there's a reason why the Bengals were targeting him from the get-go. He's someone that they know. He coached under Zach Taylor and Lou Anarumo for 2 years from 2020 to 2021. He was integral in developing both Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson into becoming full-time starters. He was a part of that run to the Super Bowl and ended up getting him the Notre Dame defensive coordinator job in 2022. And you can identify Al Golden as a target early on in the search, but limiting yourself to just him and Patrick Graham and DeMarcus Covington, who have been the only other 2 confirmed interviews here, that just doesn't seem like you're doing enough. Because if you're so locked in on just 1 or 2 guys for this one position, you're not checking yourself in any way, shape, or form. Not scoping out other qualified candidates for this position prevents you from learning about why you're so invested in these 2 guys in the first place. One of the greatest mistakes that the Bengals and pretty much every NFL franchise makes on a yearly basis is over-trusting their own decision-making. And again, I'm not saying that at the end of a thorough and extensive coaching search that Al Golden still wouldn't be the top choice for Cincinnati, but you're limiting yourself to Al Golden if you don't conduct that extensive coaching search. Because a few years from now, if Al Golden does get the job and he doesn't work out, which is entirely a possibility, again, all of this is just projection, then we will look back at how the Bengals hired him, we will look back at that process, and there will be critiques about it. If it does work out, then the Bengals probably win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow in his prime. And that's great, but this is certainly a risky process no matter which candidate the Bengals end up hiring. And when they do make that hire, we will talk about it right here on A2Z Sports Cincinnati.